so unprofessional, Jim. Well, this ain't about professionalism. This is about coffee with you in the morning as we all get into Sunday, November the 30th, 2025. How are you? Episode 31 of the podcast. Such a clever name. So we're doing okay, dig it, man. It's like and if you're taking notes, which I hope you are, because I'm offering up some things that are working for me as we go. The topic of the day that we're going to tackle here in a minute is, I've been adamant when it comes like, Black Friday, don't give into the gimmick. And I want to expand on that a little bit because I think as we continue into the holiday shopping season, I won't even say Christmas shopping. The reason I make the differentiation there is because the buying season has already been co-opted so much. It ain't got nothing to do with Christmas and the spirit of Christmas. It has everything to do with the buying habits of human beings. So that said, again, I'm not trying to go into some crazy protest mode. That's not it. What I'm talking about though is they doing a little digging this morning and seeing where like some retail numbers are right now. The retail numbers are kind of murky because the weekend's not over, but the online numbers are interesting. We're going to talk about that, but more importantly, I want to talk to you guys about a hang up that I had for the longest time that I didn't realize was a hang up I was having. And it was a habit that was based kind of like in fear and guilt and obligation when it came to the holiday shopping. And like I say, we'll go more into that. But before we do there, first, let's just talk for a moment, have some coffee before we get heavy into anything, right? Right, it's important. Sip up. Unless your coffee is like totally that right perfect temperature where you could chug, which I don't think I would ever really want to chug coffee. Never really been a thing. Not for me. Anyway, so it's 20 where we are here in the 72601, it is 25 degrees and feels like 12. So yep, the forecast held true on that, man. There's talk of like crappy weather tomorrow as far as like frozen precipitation, but I don't know. That's where you got to plug into my pal Brandon Ruley's StormTrack 360 because stormtrack360.com and all of his outreaches, if the weather is going to get stupid, he's going to get you smart. And so I like that about Brandon and what he does. So be sure to make a note of that. Don't know anything yet. There's a buzz and rumor that say the annual after Thanksgiving Christmas parade in Harrison may have some issues because of the weather. Don't know yet. So check out Explore Harrison for like those updates and see what's going on there. So anyway, there's that. Another little bit of early morning updating stuffs. If you haven't noticed, the 2026 Virtual Stump group page on Facebook Land has been updated with 3 more candidates over there: Jody Marshall, Jeb Little, and Kyle Evett. Okay, you want to know what they're running for? We'll go over there and look. That's why I did it. And also, you can go to 72601life.com and click on the Virtual Stump graphic on there, uh, and you'll see them. They're all there because again, we're building. I don't like using the term database because it sounds so cold, but we're building a database of these simple who they are, what they're running for, and why you should vote for them here in Boone County. Why? Because you need to meet these people. Take it seriously. Midterm elections do matter, and local elections matter even more. And I really want to encourage you to do that. I'm not going to tell you what to do or how to vote for or who to vote for. Either way, not concerned with that. Main thing is just getting the information to you because it's hard to get information. And to have something centralized is tough because we're all scattered all over the place. And so this is my way to create a project that can allow me to give back to the community and maybe even more in the very near future. We'll talk about that in the coming week as we go. But anyway, 72601life.com/virtual stump, or click on the link when you get to the homepage there. And you can start seeing everyone, or you can look up the Facebook group 2026 Virtual Stump, which let's go on a jaunt, shall we? Let's go find the page real quick, the group, and I'm going to put it in the comments. And again, my apologies if I do not see your comments because I've got to finally get my butt in gear and replace or put in a plug-in for the OBS system. So I've got the Restream chat, which Brandon, my buddy over at Storm Trek 360, keeps telling me, Jim, just do it. It's simple. It'll take you 15 seconds. That's like literally his quote. And he is completely correct. But I'll be working on that, Brandon, I promise. So anyway, we'll be doing that and all of that. But so that's what's happening there. Again, Sunday morning, Sunday fun day, as we like to call it around here, just because it rhymes. And we're always having fun, right? So, this morning, in getting ready in my morning routine of waking up, grabbing the first cup of coffee, being absolutely harassed and terrorized by Simon, Husker, Jack, and Zuma, to do all the morning routines of going to go pee and getting the first little morning snacky thing. Yes, we spoil them. Shut up. But you don't. Anyway, but we spoil them rotten anyway. But I get them all nice and pacified. So they in turn will allow me the time and peace of mind to do the show, so long as I keep the door closed. So, and then, of course, getting a taste of the weather firsthand by being outside with Jack the Wonder Dog. Yeah, so there's that. And then again, the inspiration really started popping for some stuff that I've been wanting to like grow this into, to where like whenever you tune in, you get something out of it more so than, which is very important as far as like letting you know we're not alone out here, folks. We're all together. We really are. And even though we're trapped inside of these boxes, we can meet outside of the box, like over there. Did you see that? Dimensional travel. Wow. Wow, we did it. But again, it's like, we're really all together. We really are. We're connected in different ways, and I wanted to make sure that this thing has some value for you, um, outside of just hanging. And so that's really kind of came into play this morning. It was like my eyes have been opened. And as such, it's like, okay, this is how we're going to do it. So I will share with you with full transparency as we have our coffee. Here's the brainstorming session and how it went. Again, what you're going to see moving forward from now until the end of something getting better, I'm going to like kind of put forward a topic that I personally think has some potential. Now I'm starting to see I may be stuttering again on my stream. I don't know why. I rebooted all my stuff. So if it's stuttering or whatever, my apologies. I don't know why. The internet is a fun and fickle place. It could be because it's cold, because we have had those issues in the past, but I don't know. So apologies for that, outside of my control. But I want to propose a thought of something that can hopefully make life better in some ways, and by like really looking at something dead in the eyeball, like an elephant in the room type thing, right? And this is actually a really good starting point, because and it's not all about negativity, not at all, not a bit. But sometimes you have to call a spade to get to a point where you can understand it and then reframe it and and turn it. It's sort of like the phrase I heard a long time ago: worrying is praying for the things you don't want. And there's so much truth in that for me. Because again, if your mind is constantly ate up with worrying about XYZ, whatever it is, be it money, job, friends, family, making people happy, and all this other stuff, you're really, I don't like using the term, but you're manifesting that into your life. So to be proactive in knowing what the problem is, the thing that has you worried, right? Reframe it as opportunity. That's the first step. So you're worried about the money. Okay. Who isn't concerned about making sure you can hit all the bills, man, so you can continue to pay rent to be on the planet? Well, we all are. So how do we reframe that to where we go from a worry to a possibility? I look at it like this. It's like, man, I need more money. First off, you can start with the simple three-letter word to put in the front to get your brain rolling is, how do I get more money? And this ain't all about that, but we're just starting there because everybody's got a commonality, right? But how do I make more money? Well, that starts the brain starting to pop off things and other inspirations from other sources coming in. But so reframing the problem by looking the problem in the eyeball is a thing that can really get you rolling and going on a solution. And then you're no longer sitting there in worry, fear, and doubt. And you're starting to find the positive silver lining on that cloud, that dark and gray cloud. So we're going. That's kind of the way we're going to approach it. And in a lot of instances, probably many instances, I've touched on that. Where you okay with Toys or Totals, my book, right? Here's my book. It has a bookmark because this is going to come into play shortly. My book tackles a lot of those aspects of worry, right? It's not just about toys. I use toys as uh, more than just a metaphor. I mean, it's a physical, real thing, and toy collecting and collecting anything or buying things out of a sense of fear, guilt, and obligation. That's where here we are in the Black Friday weekend leading into tomorrow's Cyber Monday. The whole gimmick, right? And again, the reason that I'm not a big fan and never really have been because I honestly didn't hear about a Black Friday thing. So I think it was 97. You know, it's like people were talking about it. I don't know how prominent it was prior to that because it was like foreign to me. So in 97 was when I had first heard about the whole Black Friday thing. A lady I knew was telling me about how at Walmart, what they do is they've got this so you can get a TV for 25 bucks and And I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. And then you start seeing the news reports because there really wasn't much of an internet back then. And you would see people standing in line for hours and hours and hours to get this $25 TV, and then they would lose their minds, and then they'd possibly get to throwing elbows like everybody wanted a Tickle Me Elmo or something, but this was for everything, that was on the special list. So I learned about it, and I'm like, huh, that's interesting. I was like, what a gimmick. What a gimmick. But anyway, fast forward, I never really participated in one until, oh, I don't know, maybe. Oh gosh, it's been a good long while, but about 10, 12 years ago, I guess, I got suckered in to go into a Black Friday thing at the Walmart here in town with Alicia and her brother, and we went, and it was exactly like what I thought. But I went with a reporter's lens on to where I just wanted to observe it. I wanted to see how people were. And it was stupid. I mean, now again, we're going back, pre 2020 when the world was a different place, but it's still the same thing, right? It's like there were so many people packed and crammed in there, lined up before they open the doors up, all this craziness. And then you get in there and it's wall to wall, you're running out of oxygen because so many people are, exceeding fire code, man. Um, but and they were buying stuff, random stuff that was like at best stocking stuffers, right? So it's like, okay, well that's fun, I guess. It's like if you want to be able to pack up the stock, really. And here's where we're going. And here's the thing: it's like it's the obligatory gift buying for the sake of volume, over value, and over purpose, right? So that said, I observed in shock and disbelief, and then I was listening to the people as they were walking around, and the ones who were complaining that they didn't get the one certain item because they'd already been sold out and all this. I'm like, there was serious disappointment there. And I just observed, only thinking to myself is, but did you really need it? Because if you really needed it, wouldn't you have got it yesterday? I understand you're going for a value, but if it was a real need, wouldn't you have already got it? I'm just thinking and saying, that's all. So, and that's always been a thing. So now let's fast forward to today. First off, let's go back and look at some numbers, preliminary numbers, mind you, that I had drawn up by my robot assistant, which does an amazing job at stuff like this. Now, where we're sitting right now for Black Friday 2025. Now, again, actual brick and mortar retail numbers are sketchy because again, the weekend's not over and everything hasn't been reported. But here's the interesting thing: the online shopping, those numbers, those are pretty accessible pretty quick, right? And also MasterCard, I forgot, let's see, is it listed on here? There's a particular metric tracker that MasterCard uses when it comes to purchases. Yes, they track your purchases. But anyway, for the weekend so far, US online sales hit a record $11.8 billion. Online sales for Black Friday hit $11.8 billion, which is up 9.1% over last year. Sounds kind of like, whoa. Now, let's pull back just a little bit and look at let's kind of play with that number a little, because it looks like, oh man, that's going great. Sales are up 9.1%. No. Volume collected, money wise, is up 11 point or is up 9.1%. But what else has happened since last year? More price increases due to tariffs and other things, right? The inflation, the tariffs, all that. So while there's $11.8 billion, representing a 9.1% up over last year, that doesn't necessarily mean more products sold. It means more than likely that with the dollar amount going up, the that number doesn't reflect goods. It really reflects inflation that's doing so well. We don't have any. Okay. So thinking about that part, all right. So now that shows us what? That we are still buying, but folks are buying online as they normally do, and they're able to find more deals, shop, compare, and so on. So when you've got the online retailers doing their thing and offering different deals and shipping and other gimmicks to throw into it, that still has a major, major impact and draw when it comes to overall retail sales. But when you look at in-store physical, now the report is, and this is a scary number. I'm sorry, it just is, but you have to face it. All right, go back, revisit online sales, $11.8 billion, up 9.1%. Hold on to that. Now, as far as the reported numbers right now, which are not conclusive, is in-store physical retail growth numbers are up 1.7%. Now, let's go back to what we already discussed when it comes to that number reflecting but not being talked about where we are when it comes to inflation and tariffs and all the other things that elevated the price of things, right? So when you actually kind of like try to get it squeezed back down to an apples to apples comparison, the reality is that nothing's really up. It kind of looks more like it's all kind of flat at best, but retail being only up 1.7%, if online is 9.1%, if you put it kind of in the middle, I'm no economist, I am no financial advisor, but I'm a guy looking at numbers and just kind of like looking and going, hold up. All right, if 9.1% kind of reflects the volume collected of money by way of inflation and tariffs, 1.7 increase in retail is actually probably pulling it into the negative because of same said reason. You see what I'm saying? Do you get it? So that's a thing. And I know last night, Alicia and I, we went out for a little date. Caitlin had plans. Her and Aiden, they were having fun and doing their stuff. And so Alicia and I were having a little empty nest going on. This is new territory, kids. Anyway, but we were out and we were kind of driving around. There was nobody out. And we're talking like, we started our adventure at like 8 o'clock. Um, so that was interesting. And then again, just looking around, there was nobody anywhere. Now that's kind of a normalish type of thing when it comes to like the day after Black Friday, the Saturday after Black Friday. Things really cool down. Nowadays, people don't get out much at night anymore for whatever reasons. But it was like a ghost town everywhere. I mean, we wound up going. We drove through the Walmart parking lot just to look because I was curious. And yeah, for a Walmart, there's not a whole lot of cars there. And then we just wanted to walk around, kill some time. Went over to Walgreens, looked around because I hadn't been in there in a while. We have a nice Walgreens and nice people who work there. So, but walked in, and again, it was a thing to where there was nobody there. I mean, I think when we first got there was one couple in there. They left. So it was just Alicia and I running amok and having a wonderful time looking at the show. But no, seriously, it was like, this is scary. Because I think by that point, I think we'd hit 9 o'clock. And it's like, ooh. See, now prior, we'd actually stopped over at Wendy's to grab a bite. Because why? We like the value, the biggie bags, great deal, right? Sorry, folks. Paying that full pop on what's out there now, it's selected for everybody. But anyway, and it was dead. There was a couple teenage dudes in there, and that was it. Nobody else, and nobody coming in. And also to note, I don't see Door Dashers anymore. I'm curious as to how much that may have truly fizzled out around these parts. I don't know. As far as the luxury and convenience of the service, I don't know. I did it a lot myself from like the end of 2020 going into like definitely through like 2023. I door dashed a lot. It was great. not used, but did the service because it's, I got to tell you, America, you should know this. When that stimulus money was being thrown at people, that was an economic boom for me and every other DoorDash driver out there. Because man, you folks love to spend that stimulus money on fast food. I'm not judging. I'm just saying. And it was a good way to make a living. It really was. Not so much now. But anyway, I'm saying all that as an observation of what's happening out there for real. Because come tomorrow morning, when the mainstream talking heads all go into analyzing how Black Friday was as they're in Cyber Monday, uh, think about the numbers. If they say numbers are up, okay, the numbers may be up, but they're not, unless they really specify those factors when it comes to the differences in between the inflation rate and tariff impact for this year's sales and what that looks like. It's different. Also, another thing, and I've seen it and I haven't partaken myself because I'm like, ooh, I don't think that's a good idea. Um, but a lot of folks, when they're buying online, and you may be one of them, and you may not have thought about this, but maybe you have. But the thing is, when it comes to the buy now, pay later stuff, everybody's got it, including DoorDash. I mean, bruh, if you're going to finance your Taco Bell order, don't get the Taco Bell order. Don't do it. Just don't. I mean, it's like, well, it's only 4 easy installments of $5. Okay. Sure. That sounds good. Live your life how you want to live, but think about this. If you're buying anything on credit, that means you've automatically created a debt for yourself. I will say this because I do not like debt. I don't. I loathe debt. Debt is an absolute trap. Sometimes you have to for the big important things until you come up with that awesome, now how do I do more? Or how can I make more to cover that? So I don't have to be in debt for too long. Um, Again, not an economist, definitely not the greatest money manager in the world by a long shot. Don't claim to be. But I think, no, this is so. But now that's another thing that is part of that number that, like, of that $11.8 billion in online sales for Black Friday, 747 million. Now that's kind of a small percentage, 6.3% of all those online retail sales. But $747 million was by way of the buy now, pay later stuff. Be careful because it gives you a false sense of win. It's no different and maybe worse even than when people would go and do their holiday shopping, Black Friday all the way through to Christmas, maxing out credit cards and then sweating how they're going to get through the next, January through March trying to get the stuff paid for, right? So that's interesting to me because it's a new service, an opportunity that online retailers have, in store doesn't. So that's another thing. But is it real numbers? Because what happens if, all right, you do the buy now, pay later, you do the first payment, then you got three more to go, and then something happens. And then that extra little $5 that probably turned into like 6 or 7 different options or opportunities to buy things that just compiled on you. And from what I understand, when January comes, there's so many things that are going to go up in different sectors you have no control over, like your insurance, possible with utilities and things like that. Scary times. So just be careful. Do you? I am not judging you by any stretch of the imagination. You live how you want. That's just my own personal thing. You know what I'm saying? Um, so anyway, there's that. Now, all of this, what does it mean? What does it mean? What it means is that there's still a loop that we in America, now I can't speak to the rest of the world because I ain't there, but here in the States, this whole Black Friday concept and the holiday shopping season, which you and I, if you are alive today, you have been completely programmed that gift equals love. So the more gifts you buy and give, the more you love someone, right? That's the programming and that's the fact. Okay, there's no arguing that. You can try, but I'll prove you wrong quickly because our society, and again, I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking it. That's not what I'm saying. I've enjoyed it my whole life, but that doesn't make it necessarily right when you're being manipulated into these purchases. because it's if you don't do it, then you obviously don't care enough. Bullshit. Okay, that's just got to stop. Again, no. And therein lies where I'm going to turn to the book, My Toys Are Totems, and I want to read you page 51 because this is important. Again, the book, it says toys are totems, and it does speak to, in a more direct way, to like toy collectors such as myself, who found myself looking around going, why do I have all this crap? At one point earlier in the year, I was going through a whole lot of stuff, and then I got this stuff, and I'm like, why the hell do I got this? Why is it everywhere? And that's when I deep dove into me to start answering some questions about that and really trying to figure out why was I in essence hooked. I love the stuff. It inspires me in different ways. But at what point did it really shift into obsession? And it shifted into obsession because of the way in which we were programmed, real word, not conspiracy theory, we were programmed to do and be and interact with things, right? So, that said, in going through the process of the book, this is why I recommend the book. It's not just that I want to sell books, it's because there are lessons in there that I learn through personal, like really diving deep inside of here, and then condensing them down into things that may help you see things from a perspective you had not seen before. And might break some things loose, and you go, oh. And Black Friday and this whole concept of going into the holiday season where gift equals love can be the worst trap ever. I've seen so many people over the years who feel absolutely miserable that they were not able to get, like, number, just example sake, they were able to get someone in their life that perfect gift, that thing they really wanted, but it wasn't enough. Not because the people said so. The person going to get the gift, they didn't say that. But the buyers were like, but we need more. Why? Because we've been situated, set up, programmed. More gift, more love. That's true. Think about that. Think about it. Page 51, Toys Are Totems. I'm going to read this to you because this is like one of the parts in the book where if you're in the book and you'll say like the regular chapter, then these like little breakout things because I go a little bit more into the personal side of stuff. And I even have an example, as a matter of fact. All right, here we go, kids. Breaking the spell. Sometimes the dream isn't yours. Sometimes it's just the shelf whispering someone else's echo. Now, and in the book, you know this, the 8-inch action figures from Mego, those were the gold standard for me. Cloth costumes, iconic characters, the scale, the texture, the simplicity. They were joy itself in plastic form. So, when they made a comeback years later, I dove in headfirst. I collected everything, every wave, every obscure reissue. It was like reliving magic with a credit card. But then they never stopped coming. The releases kept stacking, the cost piled up, and soon the figures weren't going on display. They were going into bins, closets, and storage. Then one day, I looked at a figure, some minor character I didn't care about, and said out loud, why the hell do I have this? That was the crack in the spell for me. I realized I wasn't collecting out of joy anymore. I was collecting out of fear. Fear they'd disappear again. Fear I'd miss something. Fear I'd break the complete illusion. Not anymore. Now I choose what sparks, not what happens to be for sale. That's page 51, Toys or Totems. Available on Amazon.com as well as direct for me. If you go to like jimbumgardner.com, hit the shop button, take the buy link, toysortotems.com. Ta-da. Okay. That right there. Again, I hope you can see the book ain't just about toys. And when we can juxtapose that little story I told you there from what's happening with Black Friday and holiday sales events, there's an obligation that's inside of you that you don't even realize or may not realize. That fear, if you're buying anything out of fear, guilt, obligation, don't buy it. Don't do it. Step back. There's another thing in the book, the 3-point gut check, which is in the middle of the book with because like the middle of the book, Act 2 is kind of diving into the shadow aspects of things, but the 3 question gut check when it comes to buying something. Now, in the book, again, I've got it framed towards collectibles, but it applies to everything. But me and my cheaters again. But with the 3-question gut check, right? Page 47. Before you buy anything, especially like a variant of something, number one, would I still want this if it weren't rare or exclusive? Asking that question, you're going to strip away the fear of missing out. And is it love or just hype? Question that. 2, does this version say something new about me? Or is it just more of the same? I've been notorious about that forever when it comes, especially like Superman stuff. I just love it. That red, blue, and yellow. My gosh, those primaries really get me. But anyway, but now think along the lines of a totem and not a tally. Is it a reflection or just a repeat? So when you add something that's kind of the same thing, it's just a variant of some sort, you're picking up something that may be just another minor dopamine hit. And truthfully, at the end of the day, when you get caught up in that loop and that cycle, you're getting to where you're going to dilute the actual hit, right? Case in point for me, this beater Superman I shared with y'all a couple weeks ago that I found at Apple Tree Mall got the wrong boots, busted rubber bands in there, no emblem, fraying cape. This thing is just about 50 years old, right? This is that initial spark starter for me when it comes to collections. This is the first toy I truly remember. This is not the one, but it's one of them, right? But then all the other Superman stuff, which I still equally enjoy and get inspiration from, some truly love even more than that one. But then it gets diluted and you get like, well, which I don't now, I've tamed my shelf, but it's like tons of Superman stuff everywhere. Ask yourself how much of it is truly what really kicks for you still, or it's become a habit. Just think about it. Number 3 in the 3-question gut check is, if I had to give up one other figure to make room for this, which one would it be and why? So still go look, go hunt, go shop, go play. But before you just grab something out of impulse, ask yourself, where am I going to put it? What is going to have to be removed for this to be here? Break the hoarding spell of things. Okay. But again, that's why that exists. Now I'm going to give you the example. This wasn't exactly the thing I was talking about on page 51 with breaking the spell. As far as the thing, I'm like, why the hell do I have this? Because I actually, and this is after I wrote and published the book, I did it again. I did it again because, well, in my mind, see, I justified buying something stupid that I really didn't want for the sake of proving the point, which now I guess I am. But now I'm stuck with crap I don't want. And what's funny, I put it up for sale on Facebook in groups that people who are like-minded and liking this stuff, and they didn't want it. I thought about putting it on eBay, where I had originally purchased it from, and look, it's not selling, and eBay sucks. I mean, it just does. I'm just going to tell you point blank, as a seller, Godspeed. If you're having success with eBay, good on you. I just did a listing that closed, and when I saw the final end result, I'm like, whoa, this is not great. I don't like it, so I'm not doing it again. But here are 2 figures that I picked up in that whole mindset as part of the whole, like, Black Friday obligatory, you have to do this type of thing. Specifically now speaking to like the connection to my amigo Superman over here, this beater from 50 years ago, because of that connection, that dopamine hit to this particular 8-inch format of toys. So that's what I'm speaking specifically to, but that's not what it all means. I hope I can get that through to you. And I'm glad to see in the reviews people get that. But I bought these. Rick and Morty. These 8-inch figures, and Morty comes in at about 6 inches, right? Bought them. They're newish, and they're dumb. If you like Rick and Morty, good on you. I tried it. I don't like it. It's like I bought these and then I tried the show. Because I tried to watch before, it didn't really grab me. I thought, well, maybe since I got merchandise, that'll help. Because in the past, it worked. It's like I learned about the Venture Brothers, if you remember that one, by way of the 8-inch action figures that were released by Biff Bang Pow all those years ago. And I bought the figures because I thought they looked neat, and they had like that 80s Saturday morning vibe going on with it, and really kind of based off like the Johnny Quest cartoons, kind of a satirical look, right? So, anyways, I bought those, and then I gave the show a shot, and I found I liked them. I was like, that was cool. I was, I guess, hoping for that to happen with these, and no. Now I'm stuck with this crap. I'll do something with it. I don't know what. I don't know. But that's the point. It's like we all still fall prey every day to resistance. Right? Resistance with a capital R. The things that can trap you into the self-doubt, the fear, the guilt, and things like that, right? And you fight through it, and you get through it because you're better than that. You just needed to be reminded. So I bring all this up at this time because in this Black Friday holiday shopping weekend, check yourself. When it comes to your shopping for gifts for others, don't buy out of fear. Don't buy out of guilt. The gift isn't love. Now, you are buying for someone you love, but you don't have to fall into the trap of buying more to express that love. I know that sucks. That's like capitalism or anti-capitalism 101. No, that's not what I'm saying. It's a matter of not allowing yourself to get caught up into that, because once you're trapped in that cycle, it's hard to break. And unfortunately, some people do get to where they expect it. If you don't get me all of this, then you obviously don't love me. Well, that person needs a reality check themselves. So, in all of that, and the reason I put all this out there today is because it really matters to me. I mean, like, for what has been just simple coffee talk, this one has a little bit more weight and is what's leading into the future of this morning little discussion of things that we have. Because it bothers me. Because I know people I love that I've watched my whole life fall into that trap. And I was one of them. I'm not anymore. I assure you, when I give you a gift, it's out of, I thought about it. Not pedestalizing myself at all. No, no, no. I still screw up plenty. I still buy stupid crap just because I'm like, I bet they'd love this. Thinking maybe they'll like me a little bit more or whatever. No, I don't care. If you don't like me, tough. But I'm not buying your affection, no matter who you are or what you are. Except for Jack the Wonder Dog. But then again, he loves his Jack Bones. And when I give him a Jack Bone, he loves me more. So I guess that really didn't fall into this category. No. Anyway, all that said, I just again, I want these times because I appreciate your time. For everyone who tunes in to this, I want to give you some value for your time, and also remind you there's so much more that you can do when you're with this loneliness epidemic we've got out here, this lack of connection with people. We can do that again. We can work towards not being so lonely, especially going into this season where everybody has the propensity to get lonelier, and it sucks. And for a lot of different reasons, all the stresses and everything. Let's look at them head on. I can't tell you I'm going to solve your problem. Only you can do that. Only you. But you'll be amazed at what else comes to, I don't want to say your rescue, it's a terrible mindset, but it can come to aid you in getting out of those things once you start. Once you're taking a little initiative to dive in and find that, what do I say? Spark. Once you find that internal spark and you start working on really identifying it, nurturing it, applying it, and you'll thrive from it. Here's the dealio, Daddy-O, is that as you identify that spark inside of you, I want you to think about this. Number one, you're like, oh, yeah, I do like this a lot. And it comes naturally to me. And it just makes life better, even for just half a second whenever it hits me. But then once you've identified, you're like, I want more of this. And then you nurture it. What happens when you nurture something? You're investing time that's not going other places or being taken away from you. Hmm. Idle hands are the devil's playground. Think about that. But if you are taking the time then and nurturing that spark, guess what you're doing? You are literally bringing back your time. Some instances, stealing your time back to nurture it and make it better. You're learning more about the thing that really, like, okay, you're a writer, right? And you want to write a book. Well, you sit down, you start writing every day. Then if you're like me, and I like the mechanics of everything too. I can't just be a writer. I have to be a writer who understands platforms. I had to be a writer who understood the publishing process in the modern era, which is self-publishing. And the best way I found so far was through Amazon and their KDP program. Because number one, it is easy. And once you just learn the basics of how to format your book yourself, and then there's a million tutorials out there. Amazon has a bunch of guidelines you can follow that makes that process simple. And then you actually go through the steps of finishing the book, doing the artwork, getting the book itself uploaded and published, active and available around the world. That did cost you time, but it was your time again that you captured once you identified your spark and you started nurturing it. And then you put it out there, you applied it. And then once you do, you will thrive. It doesn't necessarily translate for me, like with the book, right? Thriving from that step in having a book out there, the thriving doesn't mean sales to me. It's a nice benchmark. It's nice to see. However, I'm thriving because I wrote a book, cover to cover, locked and done, in the can. This has given me a ginormous amount of confidence again that I finished something during a time where everything was shit. And that's the only way I can put it, because it was. And oh, here, we're authentic today, right? Super authentic. But it started by way of the loss of my buddy Carl for all the wrong reasons. December 28th, 2024. Biggest hit this family's taken ever, right? Tragic. And so many people affected. And then it wasn't a week later that everything took a really bad turn for my mom, which led her in ICU down in Little Rock, which in turn led to a lot of road trips back and forth, trying to figure out how we're going to make things better. And that was a battle from January through May. And we were making a lot of progress. Things were getting good. We were going to move mom up here, getting everything lined out to where she would, in a new form of living that she had to do. But then, come May 18th, that all changed in a heartbeat. Didn't see it coming because everything was going a different direction. So all of these things were happening. But in that process, and thankfully, that inside of me is that spark that says, dude, quit wallowing, quit thinking, create. I've created a lot of things. It's just idea lines, little things. I was like, but they never took off. But then I started writing the novel Ashes of a Cult Classic, and that started to flow so well. It was going so great. But as my first novel, there were a lot of things that I wasn't totally happy with. No, I needed to revisit. And then boom, out of nowhere came the revelation of, why do I have all this crap? And Toys R Totems were born. So I put a pause on Ashes of a Cult Classic because Toys R Totems was screaming from inside of me to be written. So I did. And now I've got that. That is thriving. And that's it. And that's what allows me to slow myself down now. Because before, if you know me in the past, I seem like I'm like flighty, or I might be inconsistent, or I may be uh, unreliable. But it wasn't that I was. I'm not making an excuse for myself. It's just I allowed myself to get too scattered because I wanted to do these things to help so many people. And I had to accept I can't. But I was also trapped in an obligation loop. Another one of those things, once you learn a term, you're like, oh, that's what I'm doing. But I had gotten myself trapped into an obligation loop where I would overextend myself into too many things. Because for the longest time, again, my superpower has always been time management, organization. I could pull off things that normally, again, not pedestalizing, just fact. I got really good at doing the job of 10 people all by my lonesome. And I also followed technology along the way to find out how this one new piece of thing, this one little technological advancement would allow me to do more of that. And I did my whole career. Um, but at the same time, I was building a web and a trap that I didn't realize I set for myself. The book, however, helped me break free of that. In turn, it's what's also encouraged me as having a product. Because if that book was your book and you said, Jim, help me sell my book, it would be easier for me to do that than to sell my own, to promote my own, to market, advertise my own. A lot of different psychological reasons for that. We can talk about that another time. But the point is that I finally had something that I could let that was mine. Because here's the thing: you asked me to promote your thing, and this is why I've completely moved away from in everything that I'm doing any type of advertising or sponsorship model because I cannot depend on it. Not just because you might cancel, and you don't want to advertise anymore, you got to cut your budget, whatever, or I do something stupid you don't want to be associated with. Okay, that's not the reason. The reason, the last part is a little bit more like it, but the reason that I don't is because I have no control of what you do. So at some point, you could get to the point where you're doing something that I adamantly oppose. Like, I mean, it's like it's a thing in my worldview and your worldview that absolutely clashes. Okay. We are not going to have a good discussion about this. I can live and let live on just about anything, but there comes sometimes where I see things or behaviors, and you may see it in me too, but I see things and behaviors that in I just can't do. And there are a lot of things, especially over the past 5 years, that have been points of division that are normally manufactured, play on people's emotions and the bad ones, or they take the good ones and manipulate them and turn them into a bad one, where we wind up fighting over things and standing on mountains that aren't really ours to fight, but we do it because we got lured into it. As such, so I'm selling your book for you, right? I'm helping you put together all your stuff and getting it out there and everything. But then you take a turn that I don't agree with adamantly, and I don't want to represent. I just don't want to do it for various reasons. Well, here's the thing: if there's money on the table in a contract, I'm stuck. And there were plenty of times in my career working for someone else where if the salesperson sold a contract to XYZ widget company that I knew was trash, I was still obligated because of my contract with this company to produce those commercials and act like I really liked this stuff when I didn't. But I had to, right? Until I made a choice not to. And that's where I'm at on these things now. That's why I do not do that. I just won't. Advertising sponsorship, you want to sponsor or advertise on one of my, if you want to sponsor something I'm doing or you want to advertise on my platforms, you're probably not going to get a good response from me because I don't want it. I don't want it. It's not something I want to do. So, but I've got a book. If you want to support my work, my efforts, buy the book. I do have a service. This all ties together in a second. But I have a service to where I've created an evergreen content package service. That's twofold. One fold is I provide the service for you. Second fold is I'm building out a training module that will be for sale, not for free. Some things will be for free, but not the whole thing. I mean, time is valuable. Experience is even more valuable. And where I can save you time and help you gain experience in a shorter time than it took me to get all that, that's value. It took me a long time to come to that too. But it'll be available for sale, so where you can walk yourself through it. And then there may be some in between type things to where we could do more like coaching, holding your hand a little bit more, which is nothing wrong with. Don't get me wrong. I'd never, ever, 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 ever will dissuade anyone from reaching out for a little bit of help. But I also got to, make sure that I can afford to pay rent to be on the planet too. So those things are coming. And then I needed a community project because if I'm not giving back to the community at large, I don't feel right about it. Right. But now I can say, in the first two pillars that I just talked about there with the book and with the service, the Evergreen Content Service, both of those, I firmly believe, add value and benefit to one reader or a group of people or a community as a whole. Very sincere about that. So when I get to a community project, see, I've always fallen into a trap, and it was an obligation loop thing. But I came to Harrison in 2008 as news director at KHOZ after taking a couple years off, just working retail up in Branson. Enjoyed that resetting, rebooting. But when I got back into the broadcast business and in a news capacity, because news matters to me, informing less about news mattering, informing the community, the listeners, the audience. That means more to me than I don't know if people understand how much it truly means because I know with an informed community, you have a connected community. And now more than ever, when we're all so pulled apart and scattered and attention and everything, it's like it's hard to find out stuff without having to go a million different directions. Where before, you knew you could turn on your favorite radio station and they would provide information for you, or you could go to a specific website and get all the stuff. Well, those days are gone, but there are ways to mitigate a little bit here and there. That's why I put my brain bucket on. It's like, well, how can I do that? And a couple times over the past couple years, I've attempted to bring back a news product on a regular basis, but it's just not sustainable. It ain't going to happen. Um, Not at this point. Doesn't mean it can't. How could I make it happen? Right? See, use my own word with me. How could I make it happen? Now, the how would involve, it would need to be building a network of people that were on a mission together, just like building a station back in the day. But at the same time, getting everyone paid. Therein lies the problem. Can I rally the troops to get together and do this? Yes. Can I get them paid? Nope. Can't do it. I have had issues in the past with that where I could put together a promotion, a gimmick, a contest, something fun. But when it came down to the sponsorship things, I've had people bail on me hard. And the only person who had to like face that music was me. And I didn't want to go there again. Or I compromised and allowed someone else to come along in a sponsor role that wound up really biting me in the ass. I won't do it again. And I'm not going. Doesn't mean I won't do promotions. Doesn't mean I won't create live events, but I'm going to structure them to where I don't need those other elements. Again, I have a book. I move 11,000 copies of this book. 11,000 people are going to have a new perspective on things that they may not have thought of. And it makes for a better life for them and the people around them. Because again, once you get in touch with a lot of the things that I point out in this book, people will see a change in you for the better. Or if they see it as a bad thing for you, I assure you they were probably a bad influence on you. Just saying. Um, all that said, I had to have something. That's where the virtual stump thing came because for all these years now, for 15 years in Harrison, 17 years in Harrison, getting something out news wise that I felt was a good, broad thing. And truthfully, your local elections are something so remarkably important. They are because it's what actually mold your local society. We're all ate up with the national stuff and sometimes the global stuff, and they do have an impact, but not nearly as much as what's happening in your town, in your county, and in your state, which get totally whitewashed now and overlooked because everybody's looking to see what's happening in DC. Who cares? Because if you've got your local, your county, and your state lined out, the guys in DC, we hired them. They forgot that. Apparently, and you may have forgot it too. They're not. That's not an overlord power structure by design. That's not what the founding fathers of the United States of America had intended when the Constitution was drafted. Okay, that's not it. They're acting like it, but they're wrong. But if you've got everything in check locally by your active involvement, it doesn't mean you got to show up for every council meeting or every quorum court or school board. No, you elect people locally that you trust and that you're going to see at the Walmart or you're going to see downtown at the parade because you can call them on the phone and say, "All right, John, why did you do that?" And John better have a good answer or John is going to get removed from that position come the next election cycle because we're still civilized people. But you can actually have eyeball to eyeball conversations. That's why it's so important. And that's why the virtual stump exists because it was getting harder and harder and harder for people to get connected with those people who actually make a difference in our lives by way of earning our votes and being held accountable and being willing to be held accountable. Because anybody, again, I'm not bucking for anyone in that. I want that platform is neutral. Republican, Democrat, Independent, lunatic. I don't care. If they went through the process of getting onto a ballot, that's vetting enough for me because that's a process. It's not easy. Okay. That said, that's why it exists. And I want it to be as middle of the road as possible. That's why there's not really much room for people to comment on stuff. You can share stuff. You can share the virtual stump videos that are out there. Again, totally free to every candidate. If you're a candidate and you're in Boone County and potentially more, I want to capture that, the who you are, what you're running from, why, people should vote for you. Why? Because somebody's got to do it. And that's a time, talent, and effort investment I will make probably forever. Because it matters to me. And I'm hoping to you. And all of that said, boy, I'll tell you what, this is a hell of a Sunday morning, isn't it? Drink another cup of coffee. But it matters because it matters. But I didn't want to monetize it in any way. I didn't want sponsorships, things like that. I do have the evergreen content package available for every one of those candidates and to everyone. I have no bias in that because it's just a service. And it's a service with deliverables. Because I also understand that in the campaign process, no matter how large or small a campaign is, um, you gotta be mindful of money, things like that. But you also got to be very mindful on return on investment. And I know for a fact, if you're running for office now in this upcoming March primary, it's important. It's very important. All of them are important. But in that one, though, I know a lot of the candidates are going to be bombarded with radio, television, newspaper, billboard, rack cards, yard signs, everything else to purchase, buy, and use. Because you've got to have something to connect with people. So I'm not saying any of those are bad. They're all good in their own ways. But me personally, I wanted to create something inside of this online space that I think honestly will give you a good return on investment, ROI, and do it in a manner that saves you time. And when you go apples to apples for what I charge for that evergreen content package versus what you'll spend as a candidate on just yard signs alone, but you still need them, right? It's the whole total thing. But to just give you maximum, because your effort is what I'm hoping to reward in offering something like this. Because so many times people don't know the candidate. Well, I've done it. I walked into a booth and I seen the ballot and I knew a few names on there, but there are things I had no clue. No clue. And I was even in the business and had no idea what the hell they were talking about and who they were talking about. And that's problematic because then you're just either not voting or most likely just checking a party line. And that's not great. I'm not a huge fan of a two-party system. I think it's flawed, but I also know you can't have 1,000 parties either. Because then it gets like when you look at like parliaments in like England and Canada and other places where they have issues. They have governments collapse all the damn time. We don't have that. We may need to change some things, shake some things up on a bigger scale than we ever have before, but we don't have our entire congressional body just implode. Parliaments do that. It's weird to me. I don't understand it. But it's a different type of implode. But anyway, that's not our problem, right? Great. So anyway, all that, man, woo, Lord, y'all got me sweating. I got the vapors in this conversation. But it's true. That's just where I'm coming on things. Now let's just loosen it up. We're 2 minutes away from the 9 o'clock hour. It is still cold. 25 degrees, feels like 12 out there if you're in the 72601 and pretty much all the surrounding area. Potential bad weather tomorrow. Keep checked in with Storm Track 360 for anything to go stupid. Brandon's on it. And so there you go. But I got some things that are going to roll out tomorrow. I'm pretty sure that I want to do going forward that stays along this line. I want to give you value, man. When we hang out and you're listening to me and all this other stuff and start some conversations, I'll get the chat thing worked out so we can interact in a manner that's good for all. I'll do that. I'll get that done today. But we're going to do all that. But I'm also going to have some more fun because every morning now you've seen, ever since I printed Flip, and especially since Leslie, Mayor of Omaha, Leslie King, good guy. Anyway, when he recommended the name of Flip, great functional name for a functional product, I'm going to do something different starting tomorrow. That's going to continue in this process of tying everything together. Because again, going into the podcast, the main thing I was going for is I was trying to find that voice, that rhythm, that flow that could be a thing, more so than just I don't know. I just, again, this is still going to be the most laid back, having coffee. This is what we're doing things, sharing some ideas, seeing what happens. I'll encourage you to read my book. I'll encourage you to buy my book. I'll encourage you to give my book as a gift to everyone you know, digital or physically, either way, because I still want to hit that 11,000 number. I'm inching, but I ain't there. No kidding there. But that's again, It's not about the sales. It's about the impact. That's what it's for. So anyway, we are going to start having some fun though and do something a little different. And for December, we're going to do it to where it's going to be a contest because we've already got one in play. If you see me out and you happen to be the one to catch me, ask for your purple cow. Purpose of the purple cow keychain is to remind you and remind me. Put the extra little bit of thought, maybe a lot of thought, into doing the things or doing something that's worth talking about and making something remarkable. See? Okay, so that said, those elements are coming into play all in one swoop. I don't know if you like seeing my wheels turn in real time as I live stream or in the playback if you're watching it, but I tell you, it may look a little scary to some. Maybe it should. But anyway, we're going to have some fun. Gosh, what a great morning. This was a hell of a conversation. I don't know what's going on out there. I'm not looking at the comments. I don't know. I do hope everyone is getting the most that they can out of all this. Because again, I promise I will get this restream chat thing put in. So there's there. Brandon has told me over and over again, and I've been silly. Anyway, there we go. This was fun. Hope you all have a great day. Don't forget, the virtual stump has been updated at 72601life.com/virtual stump, or click on the link. Look for the 2026 virtual stump page on Facebook. That's where I'm posting them there as well. And then also on my own AMP Multimedia YouTube channel, I'm putting them up there too. So you can grab them from different places to show the support for your candidates or just to learn more about all the candidates. Again, busy week ahead, getting everybody locked in. Last Monday, had a great conversation with the folks at the Boone County Republican Committee, where I was able to talk to to a good majority of people who are on the Boone County ballot, and that was great. And so we're just getting those locked in. So my goal is to have every single person on the Boone County ballot, on there. Doesn't cost a dime, not a dime, just your time, which is valuable. But at the same moment, I want y'all to participate. Show you care about your community, because you already do, because you're running for office. Now, let's lock in just a little bit of a message. Doesn't take long at all. And I'll handle all the dirty work. And if you need more help putting together things that can help you in that, because we all need reach and we all need attention for a message. We just do. And this is how I'm doing it. There. Was this fun? I had a fun time. I hope you did too. So, again, this was cool. We'll do it again tomorrow, Monday morning, 8 a.m., Tuesday, 8 a.m., Wednesday, and on into infinity, because this is a good time for me. I hope it's a good time for you. If you're watching a playback, that's the best time for you. So, kids, have a great one. Let me do this in-screen thing so everything can like stop as it needs to, buffer and blah, blah. But yeah, wow, we went long today. 9:03 on Sunday, November the 30th, where it's 25 degrees and it feels like 12. So extra socks, double up the jacket, whatever you got to do, and don't forget your critters outside. And also anybody else you see standing around outside, maybe do something to help warm them up. Till tomorrow, gang, have a great day. Got stuff to do. I think you're going to like it. Anyway, have a good one.